Okay, so after doing something with technology, uh, we should not, forget the methods. Of course, when there is material available, you need to select a method as well to teach. Now, there are a number of methods. You might be creating courses through the use of technology, and you might want them to um, be updated all the time, and you might want them to be, you know, different from the older courses. You might want your students to learn what they need to learn in the newer environment. So you can use a number of sources, and you can use technology to create your own material, but then you need to select the method as well. Now, there are a number of traditional methods, okay, that we have already done in the last semester, but the best ones are those that are aligned with the adopted, adapted, or the created material. Okay. So while we were doing language teaching methodologies, we used to move from one method to another when we felt, and through research, we came to know that the method would not work or it did not go well with any of the learning theories. So um, as in the field of language teaching methodologies, we would almost reject that method and move on. And that is why it led us to the eclectic approach finally, starting from the grammar translation method, moving to communicative language approach. That became the most popular one. And then there came the eclectic approach of freedom for the teacher to use any kind of methods that go well with the students and, of course, with the course material. So we have done so many methods like the audiolingual, grammar translation, task-based, Suggestopedia, natural approach, all of them, right? So we cannot say which method would be best for the ESP, okay? Any method that aligned well with the material that you are teaching in the class, no matter it is adopted, adapted, or created, customized, but any method that goes well with the material is the best method. Okay. Now, for instance, um, you see, audiolingual method was almost rejected because it was based on behaviorism. Since behaviorism did not uh, work well, so the method was also rejected. Now, what happened is this method is based on drill, okay, repetition, right? So when people would repeat, they would learn. So this method can still be of use while you want to teach your student greetings, okay? There are limited number of ways or limited sentence structures that can be used for greeting. So if you are trying to teach your students some opening statements, how to open the conversation or how to greet people or how to introduce themselves, so they are with limited options and limited kind of structures. So there isn't any harm in using audiolingual method. Okay. So for instance, if you are trying to teach English to the people who work in the restaurants, right? For instance, the class has waiters. Your students are waiters, and the manager of the hotel or the restaurant has asked you to teach them English. Now, their interaction with the customer is very limited. They only have to greet and they have to present the menu correctly, and then they have to take the orders. Okay. So, for them, you don't have to teach through the communicative language teaching. You don't have to improve their conversational skills, what you need to do, you have to fulfill their need of communication, their need of conversation, which happens to be very much limited. Now, if they utter the learned sentences while they are greeting their customers, or they are reading out the menu to them and they are taking orders, so they don't need to be very fluent or proficient in the overall language. Okay, then methods like audiolingual, where you are going to provide them drills and exercises to learn some of the structures and some of the sentences and answering the customers. Okay, so that method would go better than the modern method of communicative language teaching in this particular scenario, right? But again, if you are teaching people to present, okay, and then attend a question answer session, right? Or if you are preparing students for an interview, okay, or for a job interview, so their conversation would be a little complex and they need to be proficient. You cannot teach them some of the structures. They cannot just rote learn some of the structures and produce them at the time of interview. They need more than that. Okay, so then of course methods like audiolingual would not work for them. Okay, so if they have to get into a proper question answer session anywhere in the presentation for the job interviews or anywhere outside, so they need to talk properly in the language and you need to improve their communication skills, right? So then the material, of course there would be a difference in the material when there would be a difference in the method of teaching also. So you would probably like to teach them through communicative language approach for academic purposes and for when they are required to engage in complex kind of conversation, for instance academic question answer sessions or a job interview or a presentation, reading a paper, attending a seminar. For all of these purposes you might like to teach through communicative language teaching. Okay, right. So other than that, we need to talk about how can you really adjust to the knowledge, experience and expectations of the target language learners. We will start this and then we would go to data driven learning, DDL, which of course we have done, but the session is going to be expired in a few minutes, so I would like you to reconnect. Okay,